Hey class, we're moving on to multiplying rational expressions. Here we go, let's do this.
All right, class, so our bell work for today, we're going to simplify, state any excluded values. So the top is a trinomial, so it's going to be a big X. So 1 times a negative 12, that gives us a negative 1. That's going to be a 4 and 3, with the 4 being negative, divided by our a value, so a 1n, a 1n. So our factor will be n minus 4, n plus 3 over, okay, two terms here, so that's going to be a GCF. I see that I can pull out an n. If I take n out of n squared, it's going to leave me with n, subtracting. If I take an n out of negative 4n, I'll be left with a negative 4. Boom, boom. So n plus 3 all over n. Okay, that is our answer. Again, we have two factors. Set them both equal to 0, cannot equal 0. So n cannot equal 0, and we're going to add 4 to both sides, and n cannot equal a positive 4. So that's our simplified solution, and those are our excluded values. Miss May, anything to add?
Looks perfect to me.
All right, so new lesson, going off of the last lesson from Miss May, we're going to be multiplying rational expressions. Rational expressions can be multiplied just like fractions. So always simplify first and cancel everything that you can cancel to begin with. So what I mean by that is our 7x minus 21, it has a GCF of a 7. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite it down here. X plus 5 can stay. We're going to pull out the 7, which will leave us with a x subtracting 3. Our 14x we can leave as 14. If you want to rewrite, if you know that that 7 is going to end up canceling, if you want to rewrite it as 7 times 2x, that's fine. On the bottom we have a trinomial, so that's going to be our big X. So 1 times a negative 10, that makes a plus 3. That will be 5 and 2, with the 2 being a negative. Divided by our a value, so a 1x. We're left with x plus 5 times x minus 2. Okay, do not multiply straight across. You want to try to cancel. So remember, any numerator can be reduced or canceled with any denominator. So if you see here, our x plus 5s can cancel. And again, how I wrote that 14 as 7 times 2x, the 7s can also cancel there. Be careful, common mistake, even though this is a 2x, this is an x minus 2. These cannot be treated separately. It's a pair, they're together. That x cannot cancel with either of those, so our final answer will be the 2x on top over the x minus 3 and the x minus 2. Again, it doesn't say any excluded values or anything like that, so don't worry about checking that on this type of problem. We're just going to leave it with the simplified version. Miss May, any comments or questions?
Nope, looks good.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and give you a time to do that, but before I let you take a break, we all know that you've been watching The Tiger King, right, on Netflix instead of doing your homework. So let's go ahead and write that at the top of our homework today when you submit your homework. Okay, class, go ahead and please try to do those two practice problems. Go ahead and pause. All right, class, so up top, the 3x squared should have stayed 3x squared. The x plus 2 should have stayed x plus 2. Here we had a trinomial, so that would have been a big X. 1 times 2, that makes a plus 3. That's going to be 2 and 1, both positive. Divide by our a value. So that changed into a x plus 2 and a x plus 1, and the x will stay an x. So easy enough, you should see that those x plus 2 scratch. Now, this is a x to the 1 power. So one of this x, this one x, will cancel with one of those x's. So this will be gone. This will be gone and become just an x to the 1 power. Okay? So what we have left on top I'm going to bring it down here, will be the 3x, parenthesis, the x plus 1. And on the bottom, it's just a 1 because there's nothing left. But remember, we don't need to write this. We don't write fractions with the denominator of 1. So our final answer will be 3x times x plus 1. Again, the instructions just say to multiply, so cancel and multiply. So that will be our final answer. On the next one, up top, we have a GCF of a 4. So pull out 4, and you're left with x plus 3 over on the bottom. Again, another GCF of x. So pull out x. That would leave you with a x minus 2 times x stays x. On the bottom, another GCF. So 6x plus 3. So this was not a big X type of factoring anything here, right? All three of those were just a GCF. So that should take you to this part. We're looking to cancel. So our x plus 3's and our x's. Now, some of you might forget this, but look at, you can also reduce here. A 2 can go into both of those. So 2 goes in here twice. 2 goes in here 3 times. That's where I think I see a lot of mistakes in Algebra 1 students. It gets kind of sloppy, so just be careful of what is left. So up top, all I see is a 2. On bottom, we have the x minus 2 and the 3. Remember, GCS or constant numbers are going to go in the front. So that is how we should be writing that as our answer. And that will be it. Miss May, any questions or comments for the class?
No, looks good.
All right, let's flip to the back. All right, our next example. It says to multiply. It looks very similar. Now, Miss May, why is there nothing down there?
Ooh, is it because there should be a 1?
That's right. So it was just a whole number or a whole trinomial, but to make it easier for our class, we're going to write it over 1. Okay? So now we're going to try to factor. We're going to try to pull out a GCF, anything that we can do. So looking at the 2m plus 5, nothing comes out of that. On our bottom, we have a GCF. 3 can come out of both terms. So take out a 3. 3 out of 3m leaves us with m. And a 3 out of a negative 6 leaves us with a negative 2. Go ahead and still write the 1 if that is helpful for you. Up top, again, we have a trinomial. So big X, 1 times negative 6 with a plus 1 on the bottom. That's going to be 3 and 2, with the 2 being negative. Divide by 1m, divide by 1m. So m plus 3. M minus 2. Okay, now we can go ahead and cancel. So I see our m minus 2's. Be careful, these do not cancel. They look similar, but this is just a 3, and this is a m plus 3. So you are done. Put it together. Up top, we have 2m plus 5 and m plus 3 all over a 3. Again, class, if you have forgotten, don't forget, stop watching your Tiger King right now and get back to watching me and Miss May's YouTube channel, right? That's what you should be watching. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause, and you're going to go ahead and try this practice problem. And there's a little challenging problem with the homework number 3, so go ahead and try that out, and then we will go over it when we return. Go ahead and pause the video. All right, class, so the first practice problem, again, that is going to be a trinomial, 3 parts. So we're going to do the big X. 1 times a positive 1 is a positive 1. That makes a 2. So that's going to be positive 1 times positive 1. Divide by our a value, which is a 1x. So that factor will be x plus 1 twice. Now, sometimes Miss May and myself would have you guys go ahead and write it like that. I would actually refrain from doing that on this part right now since we're canceling, okay? Now, on the bottom, yes, there are two terms, but there is no number besides one that you can take out. So this is actually going to be the difference of two squares. So I will write that here. Miss May and myself might have showed you guys how we can take the square roots of both numbers. So the square root of x will be x and x. Since it's a minus 1 and there's no middle term, it's going to be a plus and minus, and square root of 1 will be 1. Now, the other way that you could have thought about it, so that's what that's going to become, x plus 1, x minus 1. For some other students, sometimes we notice that there's a 0x. If that's how you recognize it, you could still do the big X, right? 1 times a negative 1 makes a negative 1, but adds to make a 0, right? So that's going to be positive 1 times negative 1, right? 1 times negative 1 is negative 1, and then 1 minus 1 is 0. Divide by our a value. However method you use, you still get your x plus 1 and x minus 1. Miss May, did that make sense? Any question on that?
Nope, looks good. It's a special case.
Special case. All right. So, again, all of this is over 1, right? So that can stay 1. And that is another big X. So, 1 times negative 3, that makes a plus 2. That's a 3 and 1, with the 1 being negative. Divide by our a value, which is a 1x. So we get x plus 3 and x minus 1.
Ooh, the fun part.
The fun part. Miss May, what cancels?
The x plus 1s.
Boom. What else?
The x minus 1s.
Boom. Okay, nothing left on the bottom, right? So no reason to write it as a fraction. We're left with our x plus 1 and x plus 3, the end.
Woo.
All right, so number 3 again was a little tricky. Everything else should be the same type of example. There is one extra step in this. So top part stays x minus 2. Let me break this apart here. The bottom is already done for you. It's a 4 and a x plus 3. Okay, we can write that over 1. But you cannot go straight to the big X. You guys got to pay attention. A2 is a GCF there. So I'm going to pull out the 2. X squared plus 2x minus 3. If you forgot to pull out the GCF, when you do the big X, it reduces the GCF and you would get the wrong answer. Okay? This now should be factored with the big X. So 1 times a negative 3. That makes a plus 2, 3 and 1, with the 1 being minus. Divide by our 1x. So again, we have x minus 2 over 4x plus 3
Off the screen.
times 2x plus 3, x minus 1. All over 1. Let's see. I pick you, Miss May.
Ooh,
What cancels?
x plus 3s.
Is that it?
Oh, wait, the 2 and the 4.
That's right. Don't forget that, folks. 2 can go into itself once. It can go in here twice. So we are left with x minus 2 and an x minus 1 all over a 2. All right, great job, class. Good luck on the homework. We look forward to seeing it by 4 p.m. today. See ya.
See ya.